Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good day I bid to everyone. We from Group 8 will present about PPP Method, which are presentation, practice and production. This is the group members. First one is me, Amir Zakwan bin Esa, metric number 2027397. Then Syahida Nafisyah binti Abdul Razak, metric number 2027428. And last but not least, Nur Alia Dayana binti Rusli, metric number 2027334.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syahida Nafisyah binti Abdul Razak. My metric number is 2027428. I am the first presenter who is going to explain about what is presentation, practice and production. So let's take a look on the first slide, which is the goal of PPP. The first goal is to order activities in your lesson, in teacher's lesson. In each stage of PPP, there are examples of activities that we as a teacher can follow. The second goal is to evaluate students' improvement. By applying this kind of teaching method, as the teacher got the result or feedback from the students, teacher can improve their students' proficiency level of learning language. The third one, encourage and engaging students in learning language. And the last one is to simplify the teaching method and make it as a mostly used method. PPP is basically the 3 stages of learning structure, which is a way to order activities in our lesson. So let's take a look on the first stage, which is the presentation stage. The aim is to make sure students understand the context. The language is introduced or presented to the learners, usually by way of introducing a context or a situation. In a lesson plan, we shall call this stage as a set induction, where the teacher uses this kind of method to grab students' attention by giving them a warm-up activity or showing something as a hint of the today's topic. The presentation stage can also elicit ideas or suggestions from students to get them talk to each other about what they know or think about this situation. For example, the teacher are willing to teach about healthy and unhealthy food. So the teacher show a picture of a grapes and a burger. So maybe the students can tell that burger is a unhealthy food while the grapes is a healthy food. The presentation stage is also a short-term memory in classroom. Usually students will easily memorize something by looking at something that is related to them, which is realia object. So these are the examples of activities in presentation stage. The teacher can tell or act out a short story or anecdote. For example, the teacher can say, I woke up this morning with a really bad cold. Hachu! I went to the doctor and the teacher can pretend to sneeze to tell the students that the weather is really cold this morning. The teacher can also play a short audio clip. The teacher can also show a clip from a movie or a TV show. And the teacher can brought something to the class as a material, such as newspaper cutting, plane tickets, and others. For example, the teacher can bring an apple and fries to the classroom. The aim is to teach about the healthy and unhealthy food. Let's move on to the next stage, which is the practice stage. The aim of this stage is accuracy. Error correction is vital in this stage. Make sure the teacher monitor the students closely and take time to error correct immediately. For target language error that seem to be common, a delayed error correction section after the activity would be useful. The practice stage can be divided into two, which is a control practice and a free real practice. So what is the difference between these two practices? So control practice is a stage in a lesson where learners practice new language in a limited form. It can be compared to free practice, which involve learner producing language using target content freely. So from here, we can say that control practice is exercise given by the teacher that contain a limited form, while a free practice, the students can use their own food vocabulary. For example, they eat burger at home, so they use the word burger for the exercise. So these are the characteristics of an effective language practice. The first one, practice validity. The practice activity must have learners rehearsing the skill or material it purports to practice. So as you can see from here, maybe the students learn about the food vocabulary, how to spell the word. So do you like? So the students can write their own food. The second one is pre-learning. It is to ensure that the students have some understanding of the new language. And the last one, volume or amount of practice. Referring to the number of opportunities, every student in the class has to practice the new language and not the level of sound. So these are the application of practice stage. There are 3 ways on dividing the students in order to practice their proficiency level. The 3 ways is individual, group work, and pair work. Brother Amir will elaborate more on teaching activities. So here you can see real sentence or sound. For the pair work, you can do ask and answer question. So let's move on to the last stage, which is the production stage. The production stage is where the language is used in a more open way. Things like role play, communication tasks, collaborative tasks, or discussion activities. The focus of this stage is using the language as fluently and naturally as possible, as students would do outside of the classroom. Students are fully participate in this stage and teacher just monitored them. This is called as student-centered learning, or now we call it as synchronous activity. The production stage also involve individual, group work, and pair work, as well as the practice stage. But there are advantages and disadvantages of production stage. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of production stage? For the first one, advantages. It is easy to learn for new teachers, where the PPP is a simple and understandable method for new teachers to learn. Second one, it is very flexible. The third one, it works for most types of class, including larger class. Role play, discussion activities, it can be done in a larger class. The fourth one is most course book use this or a similar method to structure their lesson and chapter. And the last one, it is easy to plan for and has a logical progression. So what are the disadvantages of production stage? Research show that it may not be the best way to teach or learn language. And weaker learners may overuse the target language from the practice session, so it sounds unnatural. And learner may not be sure how to use target language in different contexts, so they need more guide from the teacher. And the last one, it can be boring if used repeatedly for higher level students.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alia Dayana binti Rusli with the metric number of 2027334, and I'll be talking about limitation of PPP. According to Thornbury, a New Zealand linguist and an internationally recognized academic and teacher trainer in English language teaching, he said that PPP approach appeals to both teachers and students. It is because it represents the idea that practice makes perfect, which is common in many skills. It enables the teacher to monitor the lesson's content and pace, and it establishes a clear teacher role, which is essential in classrooms. Although it all sounds quite logical, the teacher who used the PPP approach will soon identify problems with it as follows. And the first one is, the students can give the impression that they are comfortable with the new language as they are producing it accurately in the class, Although a few lessons later, unfortunately, the students will either not be able to deliver the language correctly or even will not produce it at all because this method focuses more on the teacher's role. Okay, next one. We can see that even if the student produce the language, they often overuse the target structure and make it sound completely unnatural when they use the language. And finally, students may also not produce the target language during the free practice stage. It is happen because they find that they can use existing language resources to complete the task.
And now for the last part, I would like to present about teaching and learning process and also suggestion of an activity. But before that, I would like to introduce my name again. My name is Amir Zakwan bin Esa, metric number 2027397. In PPP method, both teachers and students play important roles to ensure the effectiveness of the method. As stated here, during presentation stage, teacher speaks most of the time as they are presenting the information. Teacher focuses on the accuracy. Teacher will check the students' understanding. Then, in practice stage, teacher may conduct activities either individually, in pairs or group work to test the students' understandings on the topic. Teacher can also correct any errors during the practice. And last but not least, in production stage, teacher will only monitor on the students and also they will only focus on the fluency on the usage of the new vocabulary. Now, we move on to the students' roles. In presentation stage, students will only listen and jot down some notes. In practice stage, students will speak more than the teachers as they practice on the new vocabulary or lessons. And last but not least, in production stage, students speak most of the time as they will use the language in natural. And now for the last part, the suggestion of an activity. Just imagine the topic discussed is my hobby, the class period is 60 minutes, and the number of students is 30 students. In a total of 60 minutes, 20 minutes will be allocated for balancing each stage. So for the first one, in presentation, the teacher will start presenting by getting the students' attention. How? Teacher can show various pictures of people doing activities, and from here, we can get students to participate and make them focus on the lesson. During the presentation, the teacher can introduce common expressions used to describe a hobby as shown as the example in the slides. Second, during practice stage, the teacher will divide the students into pairs and they will be assigned to have a conversation talking about their hobby. During the activity, teacher will only monitor and they can also freely join them by asking, why do you like the hobby or etc. As mentioned before in the teacher's roles, the activity during practice stage can be done either individually, in pairs or group work. And lastly, teacher can have fun activity with the students in this production stage, such as recommended here, the stage is yours. Students will be divided into a group of 5 and they need to choose any types of hobbies and create hints from the hobbies. They must act in a role play while the others will guess the correct answers. That is very simple for suggestion of an activity in a class with 60 minutes period of time. I guess that is all from us, Group 8, PPP Method, Presentation, Practice and Production. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.